What is up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Camera Junkie live stream. My name's Luis, or Luis, also known as Mr. Camera Junkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. And if it's your first time here, welcome. Please be sure to introduce yourself into the chat so you can get the nice Camera Junkie crew welcome. And as tradition goes around here, that the first thing that we always do is to go see who are the first members of the Camera Junkie crew to make it into the chat. And I see Kevin just dropped there, says don't forget to hit the like button on the way in. And thanks for reminding me, Kevin. So please do that because I always forget to do it when I get into my flow. All right. And let's see who are the first ones in. Right off the bat, we have Scott Rogers said, had my M2 Mac Mini for 5 months, wouldn't turn on now. Oh, that sucks. Says, had my M2 Mac Mini for 5 months, wouldn't turn on now. Drove an hour to an Apple store, is dead. Needs new logic board. That is so interesting because I was gonna give you my perspective and at least my experience with the M devices since they've come out. So mine has just been flawless. We got JP in the house saying howdy folks, hope all are well. Can't stay the entire stream, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. Likewise, sir. And to everyone watching, that's right, this is the holiday stream, so say right off the bat, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everyone, and I wish everyone a safe and happy holiday. All right. We got Mr. Paul Duncan in the house saying greetings. Parker Jennings in the house as well, saying hello to everyone. And this is where I saw Kevin saying hello to all. And says, don't forget to hit the like button on the way in, please. K-Walls in the house. Kathy saying hi to all. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. All right. And as Scott had just started talking about that his M2 Mac Mini just died, that's like very unfortunate. But I was speaking about this a little bit last week about the decision. So I tried to see, and what I ended up deciding on doing was kind of creating a void in my own systems to actually do so. So I was kind of looking for a reason to upgrade my M1 Mac Mini and really didn't have a real reason to because my Mac Mini has been working flawlessly, like without a problem. Now, a little bit of insider information, the first Mac Mini that I purchased was a refurbished, and there's some people who actually vouch by the refurbished side of Apple products because they feel like if something like, you know, what happened to Scott, anything whatsoever that could have been wrong with the device, on top of passing like the preliminary tests, you know, it went out into the field, it came back with an issue, and then it got kind of like special hands-on treatment to make sure that the new unit was revised correctly. And I haven't had any problems with the refurbished side of it as well. And the M1 Mac Mini, and I'm talking about the base model, which I have here. It's been sitting under my desk since I got it, and it's surprising to say that this came out or was announced late 2020 and really started getting into people's hands early 2021. So right around this same time, 4 years ago, was when this was announced, and only like the developer models had actually hit people's hands. And it was just, I believe, you know, the first quarter of 2021 when these actually started selling for people to purchase. I could be wrong on that. It could have been 2020, but I remember the big buzz was actually just right there in January, February, when it was actually turning over to 2021. Kevin also says, my very first MacBook in 2012 was a refurb. That thing was a tank. Yeah, you see, like, I think that there's something to it. So this one that I have in my hand here is the refurbished model that I'm talking about. I paid 500 and I think it was 589 total with tax, you know, for like the refurbished discount. And this has also been a tank. This actually started with me, you understand, and I actually started doing all the 4K video editing on this machine. And there's something that Doc Rock had mentioned earlier today, which is that, yeah, like before when we were on these Intel machines, trying to get these computers to run Final Cut Pro, or I don't think Resolve was out or that popular back then, but Premiere or anything, to try to get these NLEs to actually start running your 4K edits and have them be like smooth, where that you don't have to be dealing with proxy files and like huge project files. Like that all changed with the M1s, because once I got my hands on this, everything changed when it came to my editing. It was that much faster, and it's to the point where like I had mentioned, I really didn't have a need to replace this machine, but I was looking to see like if there was a possibility. And what ended up happening, which is pretty cool, because even though I love him, my father does not watch these live streams, so I'm able to speak freely without like spoiling any surprise. So in a couple of days from now, we'll be celebrating Christmas very soon. We celebrate on the Christmas Eve. So my father recently has been having computer problems, and he's been on PC since God knows when, right? Since he got his first computers. And with that being said, I've always been the one that has been repairing those PCs. But it came for a while now that I had told him, I go, hey, you should be on a Windows machine. And I don't feel like wasting my time, because if it was just reformatting a Windows PC would be one thing, but the fact that they want me, or he would want me to like save all of his files and try to find the needle in the haystack, which would be trying to fix his machine or whatever malware or spyware is being malicious at the moment. I totally gave up on that. I said, no, we need to get you on on an Apple machine compared to a Windows. So that's exactly where we left it. Couple of this different situations happened. He got another computer, an older one of his, which also has an even older operating system, so that much more vulnerable. And he connected it, but because he wasn't online, he had said like, hey, I didn't have a computer for a bit, so I didn't have internet. Now that I got a computer, I'm gonna reconnect the internet. And as soon as we reconnected him to that internet on the older machine, it once again started causing problems. So that same reason, you start looking at like what's available as far as new machines and what's on the market. And going with Apple, in my opinion right now, is a no-brainer. If you're looking for gaming, right, that would be the one only exclusion that I would say, hey, you might still want to look into a Windows PC. But the thing is that you don't need that machine to be your do all and end all. It have to do more with the video processor or the graphics card that you install in it to be able to push the frames and the graphics that you want to get the image that you want out of these systems. So more recently, Apple has been making a push for the gaming aspect, but I still wouldn't recommend that if that is your main source of like use out of your computer. That would be the only thing. Everything else, it doesn't really make sense to actually invest in an Apple machine. Now, I saw a video recently from Linus Tech Tips where he compared the Mac Mini to another SoC, which is a Windows SoC, a system on a chip, right? And it's a small little compact machine. And also a full-fledged like tower computer, and they kept them all within the budget of around $600 to $700, just to keep them within the ballpark. And right there off the bat, like you can see that all the tests, I think all but one, which had to do particularly with like graphic shading in a rendering program, was the only one where the Mac Mini kind of was lackluster, and not by much. So overall, like this system for the price is a no-brainer. Now, I'm a user of the student account because of educational purposes, and Aiden as well, being homeschooled and things like that. So with that being said, I had gotten some software from Apple with the education discount, and I just went into that same education discount to purchase the new Mac Mini, and I got the base model, and it dropped it $100. So I was able to buy it for $499 comparative to $599, which makes it like an amazing deal, kind of like a no-brainer. So instead of just purchasing that computer and just having no use for the M1, I am now going to be like regifting that machine now to my father. I've just cleaned it up. It's been under the table. It barely even had dust on it. It's crazy. And it's in immaculate condition, and it's just gonna be both a gift and a headache saver for myself, because I will no longer have to deal with working on Windows computers when it comes to my father. It will be so much easier from here on out. And with the new like kind of updates that are coming to the Apple side, which will give me kind of like that remote desktop control, like if anything were to happen that I'm not physically there, I'll be able to kind of just easily log into that machine and do whatever it is that I need to do. So, you know, new features coming in the future is only going to make this thing so much better. But when it comes down to the performance of it, it's also hands down the best deal. So I started looking at the refurbished side for these M1s, and you can't even find them at all. You understand? So then when I started looking on the like eBay and stuff like that, they're still running for like about $300. So I said, deduct $300 from the $500 price tag. So I'm gifting myself for Christmas a $200 M4 upgrade, and that's exactly what I did. So just last Sunday, or just last Saturday actually, as soon as I finished the live stream, I started crunching some numbers, and I ordered the M4 Mac Mini, which just to show you real quick, I kind of highlighted the box there. I got a stand from a 3D print file for a Rubik's Cube holder, which made it perfect to actually hold the box there, because the box is a perfect little cube, and it's aesthetically pleasing. So I was able to actually put the Mac Mini once again under the table, so it's really difficult to show you, but you know what? I'm actually going to be able to do it because we are wireless on this camera. All right, so you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and grab it. Pardon the shaking. All right. Mac Mini M1. And just underneath the table here, we got the M4 Mac Mini. Now, I 3D printed that bracket to hold it right there. I'm trying to get a better shot there. 3D printed that bracket, and that's exactly how it's holding it up. I put it backwards, right? Sort of like facing the rear end to me, because if you can see from out here, I still left the USB ports available to me. Now, the main connections that I have for this computer is a USB connected to the Rodecaster Pro Duo, right? And the other one would be to the actual camera that I have that I use sort of as surveillance outdoors. So the two USB ports in the front are the ones that are being connected. I can show it there now. All the cable work came around the side, and I 3D printed this little spool holder, right? So that just gets like bolted underneath the table there. And then I was just able to wrap the cables around until I just brought them there. Once again, Linus Tech Tips for the win, right? The little Linus Tech Tips clip there, keeping it magnetically in order. And then we have my Ethernet and power HDMI sitting on the front. So if I now need access to any of these USB-Cs, I have them directly there just facing me, so I have it ready, and that's how I have the new M4 setup. But getting back to the functionality now, I did a preliminary test, which I have the numbers written down, but just took a file in Final Cut Pro off of a hard drive and I just re-rendered it, right? Because when I use Final Cut Pro, I don't have the instant, or what's it called, the auto oh, man, I'm running a blank on the name. Hold on, let me put this camera back. See if we could fix that. I think that's good enough for right now. Go back to this shot. Yeah, that's good enough for now. Boop. All right. When you're actually on the Final Cut Pro timeline, it actually does the like automatic rendering, the background rendering, right? So it actually starts rendering all of your special effects and everything like that, which tends to blow up the size of your project file. So I have that turned off completely always, especially because all of these M1 machines are fast enough to run all of your edits in real time, so you don't have to expand and blow up your file sizes when it comes to your Final Cut Pro projects. So trying to keep that, you know, mitigated and small as controlled as possible, I have that turned off. And like I said, the M1s have never given me a problem, even on the M1 8 GB. Now it does tap into your SSD for extra RAM, but at the same time it does handle it without a problem. So I ran the same file and I exported it on the fly on the M1 and the M4, and my God, like it's almost like night and day, and I almost felt like I didn't think it can get better. I'm like super impressed with the new M4 series, and this M4 Mac Mini with 16 gigs of RAM, 256 is the hands down no-brainer option. Like if you find this under your Christmas tree, this is the best box gift bar none, because I'm just like enamored with it and been using it like more than I thought I would, especially with having the Mac Studio right here as my main thing. And it's just, you know, of course, setting it up, right? But once I did get it set up, I was just super impressed with all of its functionalities. And now I was able to get everything running, including like the music that we're hearing in the background, just like I had my M1 Mac Mini, but everything is working flawlessly. Like, you know, when I put on my Vision Pro, it was every once in a while when I would actually go to look up my computer to see if the Mac Mini would show up. Now it's constantly there. So like it was almost like the missing piece, because I do use universal control and I'm constantly extending my background to it, or my keyboard and mouse. So constantly dipping into it that way. Now everything is working flawlessly, and it's starting to seem that there were more than what I thought of incremental changes when it comes to the infrastructure of how everything is working together from the M1s to the M4. So, you know, the system is working hands down better than the M1, just because of, I guess, the operating system and everything being up to date now with the rest of my things, including the Vision Pro. Yeah, because now the transfer over from my main computer to the Vision Pro applications has become so smooth that I didn't even realize it. So for example, when I pop on my Vision Pro and I connect to my Mac Studio, as soon as I connect to it, I see that as my desktop. I'm still using my mouse as my cursor, you know, while I'm just using it as a monitor at that point, right? So in front of me, if you could imagine it, you'd be seeing my desktop screen while I'm in the Vision Pro. And at the same time, I still have the accessibility to the universal control. So as soon as I push my cursor past the boundary, it will automatically hop over onto the new Mac Mini flawlessly. The the added like cherry on top, that actually what I realized was that, like let's say I'm seeing my Vision Pro here from my Mac Studio. I have my Mac Mini's physical LCD that we can see here, that one sitting right there in the background there, right? And then just to the left of it, right here, like where the microphones are, is where I would actually open up another application. But this application lives within the Vision Pro. So let's say I'm doing something in Slack, right? Or checking photos or something inside of the Vision Pro app. So now I am using both the projected screen of my Mac Studio as a just floating screen, which is being controlled by my mouse. And now I have an application which is being controlled by my sight and my finger gestures in the Vision Pro. They're both working actively, but the amazing part is that once I move the universal control to the Mac Mini, and then I move my eyes over to the Slack channel, right? I actually can then push my universal control mouse away from the Mac Mini and onto my Vision Pro, and it works flawlessly. Like I was just mind blown, because now my mouse cursor jumps from my main computer to the Mac Mini to my Vision Pro like that, like magic. And I have to say that I probably was shooting myself in the foot a little bit over it, because I recently just got the updated the MX Master 3S, right? And I was using the 2S for a while, and like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's hard for me to try to like replace it if I'm just gonna kind of create a landfill problem on a device that's perfectly working. I try to get the most out of my electronic devices and not replace them unless it's necessary. But I took I bit the bullet. My MX Master S2 was acting a bit funky, right? I was able to get it to work on the Windows machine perfectly, but once I got the one that was dedicated for Mac, that also changed the entire game. Like, I didn't think it was going to be that much of a difference, but man, it just also works flawlessly. So right now, I'm an extremely happy camper. And if it comes to like a new computer, if you're in the market, it's hard for me to recommend anything but Apple computers right now, because I mentioned it before, but I will say it again. Previously, when people would come to me and say, I need a computer, I would ask them, what do you need it for? And 9 times out of 10, it was just like, oh, I'm checking like my web pages, Facebook, internet, email, so on and so forth. Basic run-of-the-mill tasks on a computer. And they say, and I want to spend $2,000 on a MacBook. I'll be like, why are you doing that? Especially when the $2,000 price tag was just like the norm for, like a MacBook Pro, I think in 2012, around that time, right? Like that was just easy, 2,000, 2,200. And I would tell people, hey, you know what? For $600-700, you can get the same exact functionality out of a Windows machine. And if it breaks, or if you lose it, or something negative were to happen, you're only out $600 instead of $2,200. It's a huge difference, because it's way more than half. You could literally buy 3 of these, Windows machines. And I used to not recommend like get the cheapest thing. I would say if you want your money's worth, I'm a big fan of Sony. Right? Sony Vaio computers were probably one of the best viable. Hey, there you go. The Sony Vaios are probably the most viable PCs on the market at that time as well, because I would easily see, as a repair person, Sony Vaio machines lasting 8 years, maybe sometimes even 10 years, and they were still functioning. And the only reason why is because they literally got aged out from operating systems and different things like that. So I remember seeing Windows 7 machines that I'll be like, hey, it doesn't have the hardware to keep up with the latest versions of the software. So that's the only reason why you would need to upgrade, because this is still perfectly functioning the way it is. And that's why I would recommend those brands compared to lesser than brands, because those would just break if you sneezed on them too hard. But that's why right now, another good example is the other computer, which I still use till today, because I don't have a need to kind of upgrade it, which is my M1 MacBook Air. So because I have all the power that I need on my desktop, I was able to kind of, not have to put all of that, like weight of production onto my laptop. And then I got a really good deal, and I mean an extremely good deal, on Facebook Marketplace. Now, you guys have heard me talk about this ad nauseum about the used market, right? You can get some really good gems, and this is one of my best ones. I picked up this MacBook Air for $300, and I've had it for over 2 years now. So I bought it 2 years ago at $300. It was nuts. It was actually when the M2 Airs were first introduced. So when that one came out, the person wanted to buy the new M2. They used to be an ex-Apple employee, so they took very good care of it. They even like gave it to me with the case, which I've sticker bombed, right? But this M1 MacBook Air is phenomenal. Like, I absolutely love it, because the main thing that I want out of my laptop, right, is battery life. And this is one sucker that, like, it sips on the battery. This thing gives me 18 to 20 hours easily, and I charge it once every 3 days of use. Now, let me be correct. Like, I want to be clear on that. 3 days of use, because if I actually don't use it for a week, it'll still be charged without like losing anything. Like, it'll go maybe from 100% to 90, like in a week on standby. That's it. So like, it could be week or two without me touching it, and the next time I open it, it still has juice. And that juice is more than enough for me to get started on what it is that I'm doing. And with just about an hour or two of it being on the cable, man, this thing is like juiced up again, ready to go for as long as I need it. So this was the ideal situation for me, where I had all the power that I needed in my Mac Studio, right? And then when I wanted to go mobile and portable, I had extended battery life on the M1 Mac Mini. Listen, the M1 MacBook Air, right? And still an amazing deal, because if you were to get this computer right now, M1, for $300, I'll be like, rip that dude's arm off. So with that, it's hard. Like, I'm someone I try to be, a bit thrifty, a bit frugal, so to speak. You understand? I like to get the most out of my money. I don't hesitate right now, especially now. I've learned a lot of lessons where you should pay for the things that are worth it. You understand? And buy, like we say, buy once, cry once, right? So instead of like buy it twice, buy it cheap and you're gonna buy it a bunch of times. However, there's so many sayings about it. I'm butchering them all. But if you buy something that's worth it the first time, it's a big probability that you'll never have to like upgrade that aspect ever again. One thing to reference is like this microphone. I've made my own microphones. I love a variety of different ones, but when it comes to just ease of use and making sure that it sounds good and that it works every single time, the SM7B is rock solid. So I was in the market saving my little, pennies, so to speak, to buy a good forever mic, so to speak. And I was looking at the MV7, and then this one came across for less than the price of the MV7. Now, at that time, that was like $270 for the MV7, and I got this one for $250, once again off of a Facebook Marketplace deal. And once once those deals pop up, I like to have the cash in hand and basically say, hey, if you're able to meet me, I'll be able to, take this off your hands. I usually get a better price because I'm a good buyer, right? And once I'm able, and I'm also not afraid to meet people in public, whether it's a gas station, a police department, a fire station, pretty much anywhere that's public, you understand, is a good place where you'd be able to meet up and take advantage of these deals. So that's my advice to you, because you can really like take advantage of these things. One thing that I haven't done in a while, and you know what, I'm gonna leave it up to you. So here's a question for you guys: would you like to see me hunt for camera deals in South Florida? Question mark, right? And let me know what you guys think, because when I first started, tapping back into my journey of photography and videography, that's exactly what I did. I started like kind of like what was that series, the penny series, right? Where someone would say like, what can I trade up for a penny? And then they'll take that and they'll trade that for something else until they get a good enough amount of anything, of something to like accomplish their goal, right? There was a series of YouTube videos that I seen were being popularized that way. I did something like that with my photography, right? I would go around and see what were the good deals, and believe it or not, there's a lot of people who think about creating content online, and it could be another thing where I'm located as well here in Miami, that there's a lot of people who want to become YouTubers, right? They want to be in the limelight, and they get all the gear because they saw a video that recommended it, and they buy all the stuff, and then when they actually get behind the camera and start producing their own stuff, they realize this isn't easy. This is hard. If I'm doing this by myself, I don't know if I have the time, patience, energy, a variety of different things that people tend to feel that they lack when they are, like when they try to become content creators online. And because of it, I've gotten a lot of good deals on cameras, like slightly upgrading it bit by bit, right? Buying a good deal and then selling off my older cameras to kind of recoup the funds. And there's been some times where I've actually bought a set of like a bundle of camera things so that then I can resell most of those parts and get a lot of things for free. So to give you an example, the camera that we're using right now is my Sony A7R II. Now, it's a great camera. Absolutely love it. When I was in the market to purchase this camera, what's it done? Yes. The person who was selling these cameras actually had two camera bodies, right? So even at that time, and this was, because this was, I think, man, this is even before I started YouTube, or just at around the same time. So I would say 2019, right? Or 2020, right around that same time. I think could have been late 2018, but I digress. That's not the point of the story. The thing is, those cameras are still priced around $1,200 right now. And I was able to, negotiate to buy both of the camera bodies for less than that, for $2,200. So I got two of these camera bodies for $2,200, right? And what I did is that I then went right on the app that I use, and at that time was the other app that I love using, OfferUp. So I had bought them off of OfferUp, met the dude in Miami, right? Looked at both cameras, they both worked, but one had a little bit like extra scuffs, so to speak, right? So I go, this is the one that I'm gonna sell. And I cleaned it up as best I could, boxed it up together, and then put that one for sale for $2,000. And then I started getting lowballed, and I ended up selling it for, I think, $1,400, right? Just to sell it fast. So taking the $1,400 off of the 21, or was it 21 or 22 that I paid? Yeah, I paid $1,100 for each, so it was $2,200. Taking that, I ended up paying just about like $800 for my camera. I was like, yeah, let's go, right? So doing that is another way to get like added discounts when you know how to play the game. Another thing that I did was I found, this one I hit the jackpot. It was a series of lenses. So it was It was a bag. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I remember it was like 2 lenses. It was the 24 to 70, the 24 to 240. It was something else which I can't remember off the top of my head right now because I sold it, right? And the plan was to buy all of this stuff for a good deal so that then I can kind of just part it out. And what I wanted to keep was the 24 to 240 lens, right? But also that came in the deal was the 24 to 70 Zeiss, the f4. And when I started testing that lens out, I was just super happy that I was like, man, this lens really works out a lot better than what I thought. And even though I got the whole deal, and I think, oh yeah, just to give you a bit more context, what ended up happening was that I showed up in my work car, which at that time was my iPhone repair car. So as soon as I showed up to the house, right, the deal was for like $500 for like the 2 lenses, and I can't remember what the other item was. I'm hesitant to say. I think it was a gimbal, but it was like $500 for everything. But I ended up doing a couple of iPhone repairs there on the spot because once they realized that I was able to do them, they showed up with 2 phones and they're like, both of these are broken. Can you fix these? And I was like, you want to take that off the price? And they were like, yeah. So I ended up staying a little extra. I was doing the repairs right from my car. So I did 2 iPhone repairs and I charged them $100 for each repair. That was then taken off of the price. So I ended up paying $300 for 2 lenses. And like I said, I think a gimbal. And my plan was to sell 2 of the lenses, one of the lenses, which was the 24 to 70 and the gimbal. And I ended up just selling the gimbal aspect and holding on to those lenses, which I still have here. This guy right there, the first one just underneath the A, that's the 24 to 240. And right here on the shelf, boop, is my 24 to 70 Zeiss. And my infatuation with Zeiss continues from that lens and the 55 and so on and so forth. But enough on my soliloquy. Let's see what you guys are talking about in the chat. All right, to see where we left off. All right. Oh, Bushido. Oh, Bokeh Bushido. Carlos is in the house saying, hey, everyone, Merry Christmas. My M1 still rocks. Crazy. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I said. I'm so excited that I'm able to know that, like, this computer is not just going to, it's not going to a landfill and not being used. I'm super excited to being able to give that to my dad. Now, that's just one of other gifts. I was able to, get him some other things. But on top of that, this is the one that I think is going to make the biggest impact both for him and I. Yeah, because I'm not fixing those Windows machines. I'm telling you. Like I told him, I'm like, I refuse to fix those machines. Kevin says that was the major push for me when I was being able to edit in 4K without issues. Absolutely. Now, if you do the background rendering, it runs even smoother. But I know for a fact that with the even without the background rendering happening to save the file space, it still runs flawlessly. That silicone chip is alien tech for sure, dude, man. Like I'm really impressed with the new one because they have those, like how they say, those neural engines and all those things that's specifically designed for particular codecs. Man, it made such a difference on the export of the same exact file because, of course, I'm like adding some footage from iPhone and they're using Hive, or is it Hive? HEIF? I think so. I think that's the file format that Apple uses, which is heavily compressed, so then it decompresses it and still runs it flawlessly. Is like freaking amazing. Jarrell is in the house saying, what's up? Kevin has a question that says, did migrate everything over or start over from scratch? Now that's funny because we were having this conversation in the Gold group last week because Doc Rock is someone who actually does not migrate anything. He doesn't. He's big on, like what he says, nuke and pave, right? Just nuke it, pave it, start from the get-go clean. I'm not that person. I am big, and I am a big lover of, the iTunes backup for your iPhones, and then, pushing all of your data over to the new phone. So like, it's like you didn't skip a beat. And also time machine backup. You understand, with the computer the same way. Now, I don't use a time machine backup for like everyday backups of my Apple machines, but when it comes to migrating, that's the way that I do it. I would just do the time machine, save everything onto a hard drive, turn on the new machine, and migrate all the data right from a hard drive and keep it pushing, right? Keep it rocking. I didn't do that this time. And it was just because I wanted to give it the chance. And the reason why I didn't do it is because it's not my Mac Studio. If it were my Mac Studio, if it's this guy right here, this guy's getting migrated no matter what, 100%. Because there's no way that I would go into like all the nitty gritty details of like the customization of how I have every scene and everything here onto a new machine and try to go file by file, program by program. Absolutely not. But because I mostly just use this as an addition, right, and I wasn't using it as my main workhorse, I decided, you know what, let me go ahead and try it first, try it without migrating everything, and let's see how it works. And the first program that I installed onto it was 1Password, right? Which made sure that I had the same password for all my accounts. And that made everything flawless, or like smooth enough, right? And as of right now, it has no additional programs, no programs that I don't need, right? And this is going back to like the times that I was using Audio Hijack, right? That was still installed on my M1 Mac Mini. But what I did was I just kept, and I did the time machine backup on this machine before I wipe it, because I still haven't wiped it for my father, but I did the time machine backup on it, and I just have it saved there in its own little hard drive with that information, just in case if I find any hiccups to it being, starting from scratch, that I'd be able to just go, okay, you know what, this is the reason why I do the time machine. But as of right now, it's been working pretty good. Once I connected my Chrome, which connected the account, all my tabs and all my links and everything that's, connected with my Gmail account works perfect. So that was an easy migration. Even one thing that I even have to mention, I ordered and I bought a like online, is it online? No. A Wi-Fi security camera, right? One of the ones that you put like into those into the light sockets. So outside, kind of like in that corner right there is one of those fog lamps. So it was defective. I replaced it, and then I replaced one of the bulbs with one of those cameras, and I was a bit disappointed because it seemed like I could only get it to work on my phone, and I wanted to have it on the secondary computer. So what ended up happening was that when I first had the Mac Mini M1, right, and I was able to download the iPhone program as an iPad program for the computer, for whatever reason on the M1, it never connected to the security camera. Now with the M4 Mac Mini, installing that same exact program, and once I connected my email account to it directly through Gmail, bloop, automatically the camera shows up, everything's working better. So I'm like, yeah, there could have been a couple of little things when it comes to these like newer applications that was having a little bit of hiccups that I really didn't know, but the M4 is working like phenomenal. Like even to that extent, like the new from scratch has been working really good so far. And that's it. I still have the option to go back because I'm big on the time machine backup. That's just the way that I do it. But this time, because it wasn't my main computer, I said, let's try it without it. And so far, so good. So I'll keep you guys updated. Jim Mundy is in the house. Says, okay, universal control. I need to figure that out. Would like to get the new Mac Mini just for video stuff, but still be able to see my MacBook Pro M3 homework. Oh, that's absolutely, well, what the universal control is, let me see if I can show you. I'm over here, right? Let me see where my mouse is. Okay. I'm gonna squiggle my mouse, so I'm pointing to it right here, as you can see, right? I have the mouse control right there. I'm trying to make it big with the Mac. And then I just scoot it over, and now it's automatically on that computer over here, right? So now this is where I'm controlling my music, so I can literally just go to it and skip that song. See? And now we just skip that song and be like, no, actually, I like the one that was there before, and then go back to it, right? So if I have and I want to be DJ Camera Junkie, then DJ Camera Junkie is on that machine, and that's what the universal control does. So right here, automatically, I don't have to go and connect to a different computer. I can, I have full control, even control with the keyboard. So as you can see, I just opened Google. I go there and typing on this, like keyboard that's connected to my Mac Studio. This mouse that's connected to my Mac Studio is controlling my Mac Mini over there, and that's what the universal control is in a nutshell. So if I were to open up my MacBook Air, right? And if I were to like connect it, because right now it's off, but if I were to connect it right here in the same way, I'd be able to adapt the universal control and then kind of jump from my Studio to my Mac Mini and then over to my MacBook Air, still using the same keyboard and mouse. And that's what the gist of universal control is from Apple. It's amazing. And like I was saying, taking that one step further, if I were to connect one of these devices, right? Studio, M1 Air, or M1 Mac Mini, M2 or M4 Mac Mini, whichever one, right? If I were to connect them to my Vision Pro, then my Vision Pro will be able to adapt, and this little mouse cursor still connected to the Studio will still be able to control all of these devices, including giving me fine, like mouse control in the Vision Pro. So Apple is taking it to the next level, in my opinion. And once you're in this system, like, I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite features like of Apple is sharing passwords, right? So like I go to my father's home and I connect his Wi-Fi and everything. And in the process, I connect my iPhone, right? My iPhone now has the password for the Wi-Fi router saved in its memory, and it's connected to it. So whenever I go to the house, it's connected. I show up a week later, right? And I need to connect now my MacBook Air to it. As soon as I just see the MacBook Air and I try to connect to it, my phone pops up automatically and says, would you like to share the password? I don't have to go typing up anything else. I just press one button on my iPhone because it recognizes the Apple device, on the same account, on the same Wi-Fi, and goes, hey, this device doesn't have the password. Do you want to share it? And you just hit one button and right away I'm connected online on my MacBook Air at the same Wi-Fi. Like the ease of use and the convenience factor of Apple devices and their, what's it called? Their ecosystem, right? Yeah, I'm Apple sheep. Art Carrasco is in the house. He goes, I don't know, bro. There's enough M1 chip systems starting to fail to be a talking point. I commented the Tom Buck video back when they came out, and the way Apple set them up to run would cause failures. That's interesting because I haven't heard of that stuff. You understand? And, like on the side of Ecamm, I would think that I would hear something maybe on that end if they were failing and then maybe giving problems with the Ecamm. But I haven't heard that at all. You understand? So I guess it just depends on your use case. Might be going back to like what I said, it might be that I did the right thing by getting the refurbished, you understand? And seeing if there was any issues that they did have were kind of already corrected by it going through the second round of making sure that this computer is okay. It says, my last PC desktop lasted about 15 years. We just passed it down to my kids as they went through school. That's cool. But you see, like, I have like my old Windows laptops, right? And I try to turn those things on right now to try to use them. Not happening. But now, You take this machine that's playing the fireplace in the background, right? You take that machine, that's a gaming machine, got like the video card, the whole thing. Like that thing's a beast. So that thing's a monster. But the price tag of that comparative to this is like night and day. Like the video card that's in that machine right here, this blue thing right here, right? The video card alone costs 2.5 Mac Mini M1s, or at this rate the same price, because that's also why I think Apple is the hands down the best value right now, because they were able to upgrade the RAM from 8 to 16. Hard drive space is still the same, but now you have the upgraded M4 chip that if, hey, let's say the M1s are really starting to become a problem, right? That the experience of them creating the fourth generation of this chip might have already mitigated a lot of the issues that they had in the first iterations. So with that being said, it not increasing $1 in price is like incredible, especially after it, being 4 years past that point. So that's why I say, like, being able to buy like 2 of these whole Mac Minis for just the price of the video card in that machine is crazy, because the entirety of like the build on that machine will dwarf the price on this like 5 times over. So it's like you can buy 5 of these computers, even to the point that they're saying, if you don't have it backed up and you were to lose all your information, that would be catastrophic. But if it's just, hey, you know what, the machine went down and it needs to be replaced, even worst case scenario, you're still saving boatloads. Kevin says American Pickers camera gear style. Okay, Ryan Trojan did the Penny series. Thank you. Oh, he says Tarhan. Why is Trojan in your recently used words? I'm gonna leave that alone, Kathy. Paul says, I bring everyone over when I do my iPhone, but start from zero with my MacBooks and desktops. I don't want to bring problems from the old computers over to the new. Well, it could be exactly what I'm experiencing right now for the first time. It's working flawlessly. But this is the whole thing. When I got my M1 Mac Mini, actually, you know what? Let me think about that. You know what? No, I migrated to M1 Mac Mini. I did, because I was on the Intel Mac Minis at that time. And that's why I had the audio hijack and all that stuff, like all those programs. So all the configuration and all the information on that, I did not want to redo on those machines. But now that's another program that, first of all, I'm not really using it as my main streaming machine. So that takes that out of the book, so to speak. And then the fact that I'm not using any of those old programs anymore because of equipment upgrades, software upgrades, so on and so forth. So yeah, it didn't really make sense to have to do it on this machine. And so far so good. Jim says universal control, that's nuts. Thanks for the demo, Lewis. Hey, that's the best that I can do just right off the bat. But like I had said, like whether it's my studio, my Mac Mini, my MacBook Air, or even my Vision Pro, it's so cool that like they're so interconnected that now I'm able to just bring the mouse. And the Vision Pro one is the one that it really amazes me the most, because of the simple fact that I can physically move the screen anywhere, right? So like when it comes to like this monitor setup with the Mac Mini, I actually go into the settings, right? And you arrange your screens, right? So I have this screen to the left, this one, and this one in the center, right? And then at the same time, I make sure that I have the Mac Mini on the outskirts of this monitor. So for example, right, this monitor is the furthest most left monitor on my Mac Studio. So only when the mouse cursor goes past this point here is when it drops over to the Mac Mini, because it like in like cyberspace, so to speak, it feels like the other monitor, the Mac Mini monitor, is physically right next to this one, so that it would just continue the track, right? If I were to press upwards, right, on this screen, there's no connection to another computer there, because I literally have it in this cyberspace, so to speak, right here, so that it gives me that control. The reason why I mentioned that is to emphasize of how impressive the Vision Pro is, because I can take a virtual floating screen and put it behind me, right? And I can take the screen, and once it's behind me and it's just covering up this entire area here, I can turn around, and when my eyes go to it, the mouse will still control what my eyes are looking at, and it is next level. Like, it works so well that I was like, this could be that perfect hybrid, right? Where the vision of the Vision Pro with the precision of a mouse, chef's kiss. I think the universal control works with the M series iPads too. I believe so. Yeah. Yes, I believe so. It's pretty cool, because instead of getting a mouse cursor, right, you don't get the little arrow. You just get like this little circle, like this opaque circle that hovers around everything. And Paul confirmed it. He says, yes, it does. Yes, it does. But we got to that part of the show tonight. Oh, let me get this. That's staying on their show. There we go. City Go. Channels that I think you should go and watch. And today, because we're talking about Apple and techie type of devices, I want to introduce you to none other than Dave2D. We've heard of the Marquez Brownlees. I think I've also referenced him on Cities Guy as well, but Dave2D is an amazing content creator, and I love his like super cool laid back style. Now, he's got an amazing like minimalistic studio. It's like all concrete, and it's super cool, like all just gray, very minimalistic, with just like a fish tank and stuff in the background. And he's like one of the only creators that really gets me to think about shooting in 4K 60, because he doesn't do 1080 60, he does 4K 60. And the increased frame rate and the increased resolution, you can tell right away off of his videos. They're like extremely crisp. And like I said, with the cool lines and the really cool studio, I like the aesthetic look and feel of his videos. But then on top of that, he's also an amazing, super cool creator that deals with tech, and it's got, like I said, a very laid back style. Tends to be like what I like when it comes to content creators. So is never too flashy, never too over the top, but he gives a lot of good and critical information. As you can see, he deals with he's got a video about the Mac Mini M4 where he says Apple nailed it, right? And I would have to concur. I think they did an amazing job. But as you can see, he's got a variety of different videos. Actually, let's go to the videos tab. Right, a variety of different videos on a variety of different things of tech. So when it comes to Apple devices, Android devices, and that's something that I didn't even get to get into. Oh my God, because that's one thing that I wanted to touch on and I didn't get to. But that's me talking about what I didn't get to. But if you haven't heard of this amazing creator, is Dave2D on YouTube, a tech enthusiast, and this week's Cities Gaw, channels that I think you should go and watch. And we did it, guys. But one thing that I actually had and I got videos of, and I dropped the ball on it, was and I know exactly why, because this camera over here is my iPhone 14, and that's what has the video. But because my iPhone XR today decided not to play well to get my overhead shot over here, this one, I decided to just grab that phone to use it. And that's why I said, you know what, I can show you the under the table because this one has a better wireless connection. But I digress. The main thing is that on this camera here, on this phone, is where I have videos of me stopping at Best Buy and being dumbfounded at the prices of Chromebooks. Chromebooks that were all more than the Mac Mini M4, giving 128 gigabytes of RAM, of hard drive space, of SSD, or like flash memory space, 128 gigs. So half of what the Mac Mini gives, and people constantly complain about the Mac Mini. And they're like, oh, just 256, how could they? I'm like, you're paying $600 for this computer. And now you get 256, 16 gigs of RAM. I think some of them had 16 gigs, right? So comparable there. But now we're talking about Chromebooks. It's a glorified Android phone. So if you don't understand, like that's all it is. It's just a bigger Android phone. It's limited. It doesn't give you full functionality of any application. It's not a full-on computer. It is the bare minimum requirements to run the operating system that would go on a phone, not even a computer operating system. And they're charging $650 for these Chromebooks. And I'm like, I had to ask the rep. I was like, are people buying these? Are people buying this over an actual computer? And he's like, you'd be surprised, but that there is a market for it. And the market is mostly parents who want to get their kids a machine for school, and the other one older, and I'm guessing boomers, right? Older people who don't want to learn how to use computers and just need the functionality of basically a bigger version of their phones. And because they already know how to use their phones, there you have the Chromebooks. And I jaw dropped. I was like, I can't believe it, because to me that's like a ripoff and a half. But that could just be to me. And we'll leave it there, right? Chromebooks, shocked the hell out of me that they're still going for $650 for a Chromebook. I was just like, what? And the thing is, this is the crazy thing. There was 6 variants from different brands. So I was like, there definitely has to be a market, because it's not like they just have 1 or 2 hanging around. There's competition within the field, and that's crazy. The markup on that device must be insane for these companies to continue to do it, because even if they don't sell a lot of them, the profit off of it must be just crazy through the roof. And that's where I'll leave it. I wish them the best. I wouldn't recommend buying a Chromebook or anyone using anything of that sort at all, bar none. And that's where that'll be the soapbox I stand up. But guys, we did it. This is episode 212. It's 212. So if you're not familiar with this, just to get you up to date, that is 212 consecutive weeks of the Camera Junkie live stream without skipping a beat. And this was the Christmas / type stream where I want to wish everyone who's hung out here with me tonight and everyone that's been here before a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I will be back next week before the New Year, so we'll be doing an end of year, New Year's type of live stream. So if you haven't done so already, make sure that you're subscribed, that you hit the thumbs up, make sure that you're aware and notified with the little bell that next week, same time, same place, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You could just mark it down on your calendar that we're going to be doing episode 213 of the Camera Junkie live stream, because we're not going to skip a beat. Every single week I will be here in my favorite place to be, hanging out with all of you. So thank you as always for taking the time for hanging out here with me. Thank you for making this just another amazing year. 4 years we pushed on, and by the time we get here next year, it will be 5 years in the books, and I can't wait to do it with all of you once again. The community is starting to grow a little bit bigger, and I can't wait to see all the amazing things that happen in 2025. For those of you who might not be aware, I am going to be in PodFest in Orlando later, well, actually in January. So for those of you who might be able to partake or attend there, you will be seeing me there with Ecamm and the crew. We're going to be doing some really cool things, and we're going to be producing some streams and some podcasts live from that location. So I'm already getting my gears and everything. You know, I'm already starting to pack for January, and it's not even Christmas. It's just craziness how time flies. There was quite a few trips that I was able to take on this year. I'm already saying last year because my mind's already in January. This year, and I can't wait to see what we get into for 2025. Of course, Creator Camp, for those of you who know, and that's just like, it's just so amazing. And for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of really cool changes / surprises that are in store for all of the crew, for the Ecamm fam that will be at Ecamm's Creator Camp. So that's another thing that I'm like really hyped for. A lot of things that are coming along the way for the Camera Junkie crew, just basically doing the house cleaning. Oh, actually, you know what? Because I didn't do it last week. House cleaning, exactly. If you don't got them yet, get your Doc Pops at the link below. I got mine. I absolutely love them, so I recommend. If you're wondering how do you get such an amazing color on your microphone, the one and only Doc Rockway, his Doc Pops. Also, if you're looking to learn Final Cut Pro, make sure that you hit up Mr. Raphael Ludwig's course, the FCP Enhanced Editing. And little inside information, it will be getting updated soon to get up-to-date information with some of Final Cut Pro's new up-to-dates. And also, if you're wondering how I do all of this, is with this amazing program Ecamm that I have mentioned, but it's how I do everything and bring all the comments onto the screen, recording, podcast, you name it. This is the information. So that being said, we're bringing it all together and doing the final bit of house cleaning. So thank you guys, as always. Go back to the main shot. Do that. Yes, and we're all set. So yeah, we're gonna be doing next week the New Year's stream. So once again, guys, Merry Christmas to all. Have a happy, safe, and like very fun and fruitful holiday. Merry Christmas. I can't wait to see all of you guys hanging out next week while we do it all over again. And yeah, until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you next time. Talk to you.